your workplace, probably something like that.
Use some very cohesive event to give you some of your example, some stories at work.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been stuff before.
You haven't moved much. Education?
Actually, no, but I'll be thinking about education when I find it. I'm going to research the connection between mindfulness and yin yoga, because it's something I'd like to learn more about myself. And in all the classes that I've gone to for yin, my instructor talks a lot about mindfulness in her classes.
Sure.
My instructor?
Yeah. Oh, not in the school?
No.
Yoga class?
Yeah, it's a yin yoga class, and it's very different from other types of yoga, and it's yeah, she reads a lot of books on mindfulness during the practice, and it's like listening, and she brings up a lot of things we talk about. And so that might just be her style, but I think it's also the philosophy of yin, so I want to see about I'll look into that. I haven't developed my thesis yet. I might talk about the connection between movement and mindfulness.
You know, yoga is originated in India.
Mm-hmm.
And initially, it's not the physical exercise, physical condition.
It's not what?
It's not only the physical exercise, but it's also mind exercise.
Right.
You know that?
Yeah, that's why at the end of every class, you lay there and you reflect on how your body and how you feel. And at the end of every class in yin, my instructor always says to remember that there's no such thing as separation, and we reflect on how much our mind affects our body and vice versa. And also, one thing she has us do, if we want to, is set an intention for class. So I typically meditate during class, and it's something that I've done in other classes too. It's quite different in yin because it's so much more relaxing and you're not engaging your muscles. It's much more about the impact of holding a stretch on your mind.
I didn't know how much I was supposed to bring, so I was like, I'll share.
Is it popcorn or fruit?
But I had in my house.
You got from the room?
Yeah. Yeah, very straight from Woodland. Made with love. Microwaves. So good.
Okay, this time, so let us do 15 minutes meditation first, and we do this for 5 minutes.
We're doing 15 minutes straight or 3 5 minutes?
5 by 5.
Okay.
5 minutes. Let's try 15. Too much to do, right? So after that, we do 5 minutes of eating.
Okay. 5 minutes eating. Oh, it'll try.
Okay. Okay, so we call the number and understand. You were not here last time, right?
Right.
It's right there. I mean, you guys, you
Yes.
count each 5 minute interval.
Okay.
And then start over again on this minute.
Hit the bell, you know, right? Next time.
Do you want total or just by round?
Much different.
No, 59, 56, 58.
You did up, you might did up.
For the most part. There was, in the 30s, I kind of got 2 bucks.
Your number is steady.
My number decreased. The first time, I think I kind of lost count a little bit. I mean, overall, I was really having a hard time. My mind was running crazy pretty much almost that whole time. I was really having a hard time just like settling. I guess just simply concentrating on the here and now. It was just so many things that it was running through my mind throughout that 15 minutes.
Cool down yet?
No.
How are you?
I'm fairly steady. It's 68, 67, and 65 and 67. So, and I was pretty calm. Like, the water, I was listening to the water. Even though I'm not supposed to do that, but it was like, it's a nice change. I did get a little mixed up with my counting, like breath-wise, but it wasn't terrible.
Good. I think I lost count a little bit on the second one. I had 55, 47, and 49. I don't think I'm off too much, but at one point I was like, wait, which one am I? So I guess right, but yeah, it was really nice. I was listening to water too. All the sounds were really. It sounds like there's like flowing water, or maybe it's just the air.
The air might have been.
But it sounds like water. Yeah.
And I was like, oh, maybe it's raining, and then I think I heard like a toilet flush. And I was like, oh, that's not as pleasant.
Yeah, but I could like my heartbeat, I could do that, and then like whenever someone made a noise over there, I was just like, whoa. Just like the quiet and then hear something.
How about you, Mike?
The first one was 82, and the second one I lost count twice, so I'm not exactly sure what it was. I think between 80 and 85. The third one was 69, and the third one I was like listening to my heartbeat too, so I almost lost count twice, but I was much relaxed. Like the second time I lost count because I started to fall asleep, and the third time I didn't try to fall asleep, but
Sure.
So what do you think? 5 minutes interval is hard to concentrate, or is enough?
So it's not that hard for me, but I was feeling very tired.
yeah.
But I'm just tired.
I just got super relaxed. It wasn't that I was so tired. I just got really relaxed, and all of a sudden I just felt my body go, no, do that.
It's hard for 5 minutes, or it's okay?
It was okay.
You might still.
Maybe it's a little long for me, but usually like when I do it at home, I do around like 4 minutes or something like that. But
Okay, at home you can do 1 or 2 minutes.
1 to 2 minutes at a time, you said.
So make it short. Yeah, maybe it's double.
Yeah, it was good. I mean, I still think about things I need to do or things coming up, but not in like not the way I used to, which was like with a sense of urgency. It was more just, oh yeah, that's coming up. You know what I mean? Like, so yeah, it was good.
When my paper popped in my head at one point, I went, oh, the deadline's coming up, yeah, do my paper. Future. Whatever am I on?
Yeah.
Especially in the morning, it's easy to concentrate. There's not much to concern.
I think it's much easier. I think it's much easier because as the day progresses, more happens. So it's harder to feel like you have the time. And sometimes you feel like, oh, I can't meditate right now.
Like in the morning,
It's too much.
like in the morning, you're taking a shower for your body. If you meditate, take a shower for your mind.
Sorry, he looked at me, he's like, what's a shower? Sorry, we had a moment.
Okay, now,
Two showers.
about have you ever done any kind of mindful eating before? Or just put everything in the mouth?
No, last night I had chips and that was very mindful.
Oh, really?
Oh, really? It was
That's
bad.
with the popcorn when you watch movie, right?
Yeah.
Okay, how about we take 5 minutes and you enjoy your food and after that can discuss the taste, the flavor, so forth that you like. You go understand in the paper if you feel, or you don't need to if you don't like.
This is like a hardcore freak.
They don't make eating healthy.
You gotta work out before you eat your fruit.
When does it start? Are you going to time?
No, whenever you're ready, just come
Clearly,
in.
this is all.
Yeah. So,
This is my daily fruit.
They overdose on like that's possible.
Yeah, it is. My doctor over time told me to lay off anything that has a lot of potassium in it. It's bad for your heart to have too much potassium.
So then
You
it's
can also
good.
get potassium. I really want you guys
Just
to
mindfully opening the package.
Why is it so hard?
I have a knife. Would you like a knife?
Yes. Do you have one?
Right now, I'm very close to have one that sounds like it would be
So it's like
Okay.
Good.
I even brought spoons, so.
Yeah. I should go get like paper towels or something so we can dispersely hold popcorn.
So are we not supposed to talk? Okay. So you're going to set the timer? No.
You enjoy your time and like when you finish, let me know.
Okay.
experience.
Well,
I'm
I
sorry.
really like the fact.
How are you? Can you describe what you feel?
What exactly do you want to know?
Like taste, the flavor, you feel.
I guess I was, what really caught me was just, I guess, the kind of feel of it, the consistency of it. I think was really mushy, as you might imagine. I don't know, it was an interesting experience because I've never taken the time to slowly really eat anything. It didn't. I guess it really wasn't paying attention to the flavor. All in all, what I was really paying attention is just how it kind of felt as I chewed it in my mouth. So.
So this is different.
Yeah.
How is it like?
Yeah.
When you take time to eat, why is different when you take time to eat instead of worship eating?
I'm sorry.
I mean, what's the difference when right now when you take time to eat your banana to compare with the time that every day you eat in rush? It's different then.
I think it just kind of, or at least it attempted to, take my mind, away from the, maybe the what lies ahead or what I have to do. It's just more focusing on this present here. Is because usually when I eat, I'm not really thinking about what I'm eating. What I'm thinking about is all I have to do the day ahead. And in this case, since I was actually trying to focus on how it felt, I wasn't as much thinking about all of what lies ahead today. So.
Would you feel the way that you choose the banana, the way that you swallow it down, go down to your stomach, and so forth? You feel that?
I didn't really necessarily follow it. I guess follow it down as it got to my stomach, but I was observing, I guess how I chew and stuff. So, and yeah, how I swallow and stuff like that.
It was interesting. I don't know that I like popcorn very much anymore. Like, it's squeaky, and it's like biting into styrofoam. It's like a buttery styrofoam, but I guess I shouldn't judge it. So it was squeaky.
Okay.
And if it was to be compared to something, it would be styrofoam. The yellow pieces are actually more buttery.
Smell?
Yeah, like the ones that are. Oh, it smells like a movie theater. But a lot of butter, and I think I wouldn't mind not eating the butter on it, like just going for like the plain popcorn instead. It's really salty, and I didn't add salt to it, so I don't know.
So how do you taste? Like when you choose popcorn, when you swallow, you feel that?
Yeah. When I eat popcorn like at a movie or whatnot, I usually only eat like 1 or 2 pieces at a time, so it's not like the whole. But it didn't get stuck in my teeth as much. Usually that's like something I can't stand, but I didn't do that since I was eating so. And it wasn't particularly easy to swallow just because it's kind of pokey and dry. So that was different. Because usually I have like Coke or something. So I guess.
So it's the first time you do it in the meal, microwave, or sometimes you eat by yourself in one way too?
Yeah, I think I tried it one time. I can't remember what type of food it was with. But I don't know. It didn't last very long because I was pretty hungry, so I didn't stick to it.
So this time, like when you were eating, a lot going on in your mind too. Or you concentrate on the eating?
No, it's mostly just on the popcorn and like writing down what I was thinking about it. So.
How is your orange?
It's delicious. It's
Yeah.
your orange too. I was like, man, that's so much fun. Yeah, we had a very
The
good
sweet.
experience.
The sweet
sweet. I think my favorite part was when I would slowly bite into each slice, just like the burst of juice felt really good. And I thought about like the use of my tongue and like I would use that muscle to separate the pieces and like to swirl around the juice in my mouth, and it felt really good. And I just like separating each piece too. That was just like slowly separating it. I thought about like the perfection of my tongue time and how it's just like organized so beautifully. And like I thought about the tiny bits of this stuff that got in my mouth. That wasn't as nice to swallow, but it was okay. And then I thought about the juice when it got into like, I don't take very good care of my fingers, my nails, so like it burned my cuticles a little bit because my cuticles are always messed up. And then I did think about it digesting down into my stomach. I don't know if I could feel it, but I thought about it, and so that really changed the experience because that's not something I typically do when I have tried to mindfully eat. Usually it's more me trying to do one thing at a time and I don't focus as much. I've never mindfully eaten like this. So I thought about it digesting down into my stomach. It made me just be more thankful for the food and it did make, and I was more aware of how my stomach felt. So I didn't have that urge to stuff my face. I just was enjoying every moment of the process. And what else did I write down? Yeah, just thinking about it going down was really different. And just being more in the moment in terms of
You smell.
the smell. Yeah, smelled the citrus. It was really good. It smells so good. I don't know what to say about the smell.
So is this the first time you mindful eat or you didn't do this?
The first time I've done it like this, whenever I have tried to mindfully eat before, but it doesn't really last that long, and I've never spent this much time observing. Usually, when I sit down with the purpose of mindfully eating, I just sit down in my kitchen as opposed to like my bedroom or the couch, and I sit on the table and like but my mind usually wanders. It doesn't focus as much on the food. Like I just look out my window and watch my backyard. It's pretty.
So what do you think when we take time to eat? Waste our times, or it's more valuable? Is to take time to eat. It's more beneficial, or it's more healthy.
I think it's good
What
because
is it?
she now knows that popcorn.
What do you think?
I mean, for me at least, I think the effect that it would have is the kind of a time to, I guess, de-stress. You know, like I said earlier, usually it's not really a break from my day, but if I actually took the time, did not rush, and just focus on that, then it's just a time of my day that I'm not really all like discombobulated and thinking about all the things I have to do. So that's for me personally.
I just noticed that it was sour and sweet. I smelled tangerine. I didn't smell wine. I kept trying to smell it, but all I could smell was tangerine. It smelled very good. It was cool. It felt cool, like in my mouth. I like the textures because it was kind of firm, but also soft, like fibrous and juicy. I felt like it was healthy because there's like no added sugar. It's just juice. I like the colors in it. It's very colorful. And I noticed there was like a lot of little lines in the pineapple, and it was a little messy because I kept spilling the juice. My mind did tend to wander a little. I've tried to mindfully eat twice before. I don't do it that well. I've never done it with this much focus, and my mind tried to wander. I found meditating easier than this, just probably because I haven't tried it a lot. I never just eat, ever. I always eat and do something. I'm either Facebook or TV or reading or making a list, or talking to somebody, or working. I eat and work at work all the time. I always eat and work. I don't take a lunch break. I just eat while I'm working.
So go back to my question. If you take time to eat, is this waste of time or is this more healthy?
It's probably more healthy, but I kind of also feel like it's kind of a waste because I feel like I could do two things at once easily. Eating to me doesn't, but then you run the risk of overeating. I can see that because, man, last couple of weeks I have not been like paying attention to what I eat. I've just been eating whatever, and I've been pretty strict the last few months, not eating a bunch of junk food. But I've been eating a lot of junk lately because everybody's bringing it into the office and it's cold, so I want to bake, so I'm making cookies and brownies and whatever. And I've been eating a lot more than I normally do. And I've had a stomachache the last 2 nights when I went to bed because I ate too much food. So I think if I was more mindful about went back to being more mindful about what I was eating, at least, then I will be better off because I feel really bad when I don't eat well.
That's a problem. When things may be waste of time is also to live slowly, mindfully, right? But in the long term, it's more beneficial, it's more healthy. Because sometimes we dump everything in our stomach, and you say, we pay the price. Visit the doctor, we waste more time.
Yeah, true. True.
Yeah. How do you feel?
Well, I have such a variety here.
Wow. Okay.
No, I really enjoyed it. Like I started with my grapes. I love grapes. Really, I love all the fruit in here except I didn't think about the mango. Like I typically don't eat mango fresh like this, so I just decided to go for it, which was I usually like it like in a smoothie or mango sorbet or something like that. So it was interesting to eat it fresh because it's been a long time since I've had it, so that was pretty cool. I forgot what it tasted like. So, but yeah, lots of different flavors. Pineapple is very tangy, grapes very sweet, the cantaloupe is soft. I mean, I've actually tried to be more mindful of my eating and cooking lately. I've noticed that I enjoy food more over the past few months. It's kind of funny. And that's partially because of what you like. I don't eat as much junk food as I used to either, so I think that's part of it. But yeah, I mean, I think it's really helpful for sure. And please help me. Like, I've brought a bunch of spoons. I would love to pass it around.
You said mango. I'm going to pull up my cup.
People, please.
When you swallow down, when you feel that?
Yeah, I mean, I
Feel
definitely.
the cold, the heat, the hotness of the food.
I felt the coolness of it. I paid more attention to chewing it, really than swallowing it. But it just depended on the fruit. Like the pineapple was a lot harder to chew, but at the same time, it was more flavorful than most of the others. So the cantaloupe was really soft, pleasing to me.
So next semester I'm teaching the same class online and may require the student take half day of mindfulness. No Excel phone, no laptop and so forth. Just be focused on that period of time, okay, 6 hours. Eating, walking, sitting and so forth in mindful way. It's the same. Okay, so let us go back to our topic today. So you see that so more with you, right? Except you just start to do mindfulness lately in this semester.
Yes.
Okay, so somehow like we mentioned recently, right? Somehow at first we think that the waste of time, but somehow it's healthy. Unless of course, unless it's so urgent, we do things, but it takes time. If we mindful, whichever food we consume, our body will be healthy. Otherwise, we pay for the bill, right? It's just doctor. Okay, so today we talk about the politics Okay, so who will start first? Who will start first?
Yeah, I can start first.
Yeah,
I guess basically, I took on the role of a governor. Basically, what I focused on is just kind of, the stressful and hectic and busy life he lives. So I kind of applied some MBSR techniques to kind of counter that. Actually, I had one MBSR techniques and mindfulness. I thought it was really important for him to meditate daily. And I think the best time, for him to do that would be probably in the morning there, maybe just for 5 minutes. Again, I know it's probably a super hectic schedule, but it's all about, I think, discipline when it comes to mindfulness. Actually, I was reading the other day, mindfulness or practicing meditation is a lot like, going to the gym. You have to make yourself do it. It's nothing that really, well, I guess at least in the first, I imagine as you get to do it more, it probably becomes more something you want to do because you experience how beneficial it is for you. But anyways, that's kind of the first thing that I recommended. And the other thing, actually, I used mindful eating. I think that would be very beneficial to him. For myself, I guess, I don't know if I'm talking about somebody else or myself. Anyways, just to set aside 20 minutes of the day, and instead of rushing through the meal like we all are liable to do, try to take the time and just think about the food that you're eating instead of thinking about all the things that you have to do. Like I said, that's kind of my problem. I'm always thinking about all the things I have to do, and I feel that in a political position there, you probably are apt to do the same thing. And I feel that by mindfully eating, it can maybe help relieve some of that stress that you are constantly under. One other thing, it's a little disconnected from this whole thing, but I think, in any political position, you're obviously challenged for time, and maybe you won't get to spend as much time with your family as you would like to. And even when you do, I think you're still very tempted to really not really fully be there, just kind of still be thinking about your work. So I think that's really helpful for the governor to just make an effort to be more mindful and pay attention to when he is spending that time with his family, to pay attention to what is going on there and maybe pay attention to how they're reacting, how they're feeling. That just helps you create better relationships. So overall, it's just I just kind of adapt techniques to reduce stress and I guess improve maybe some of the relationships he has with his family.
What's your role?
I didn't really think there's this one yet, but I think in general, I could maybe do a congresswoman.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't really know much. I know what they do, but it's not really something I have studied to know. But I can see that they get a lot of criticism, and so I think at that point probably don't really care too much what people say, but at the same time you should, considering if you want to be reelected, you need to be mindful and do what you say and keep your word and be honest. But I don't know, I guess dealing with the stress, the high intense stress people put on you to make decisions, and then dealing with the criticism, because a little harsh, and they don't really seem to think that congressmen or women are still people, so they'll just they'll say whatever. And so when I get into doing that, I think I'll focus on blocking that out, but focusing more on the decision making and moving past what people say. Not really much to say.
Thank you.
My role is Madame President.
Who is that?
Madame President.
She's gonna be the president.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yes. Okay. Which is nice because I'm already at the top, so I don't have to worry about all the other stuff. So I read an article that I really like, and I'm looking over it again right now. And I have a minor in political science, so I was thinking about one of the classes I'm taking this semester, international political economy. And it's really great. It's not horrible. Sorry, it's awesome. Whatever. Sorry. Well, one of the major themes of international political economy is, well, at least it's a theme for one of the types of theories for political economists, is the neo-realist idea that in order to thrive in an international political economy, you have to there has to be interdependence between nations. And so I thought a lot about that as I was reading, because that was the second principle that I read in this article, and it was written, and the title is Why Democracy Needs Dharma. And I was thinking, well, in a way it already does, although it's not thought of that way, and it's definitely not always successful. And but I really like this article because it kind of shows how that system could be improved. So as the president, I think one of the based on this article, and I agree with the first principle that you have to take everyone into account, including the ecosystem. You take everything into account. So you wouldn't base your decisions off of the needs of one group of people. You take into account all of the groups of people. So even if you had a large group of people who could only work who could only do this type of job, you would leave that market open. But then you would also think about the resources you have for others as well. But it's also important to remember that you can't always be the winner. You can't always be number one. So keeping that in mind and staying humble, I think, is really important. Even if you are a large political power like the United States, at this point the United States we're still the major hegemonic power, but we're kind of investing more, or at that point we're investing more in our military than we are in research and in education and things like that, which is typically a sign that hegemonic power is losing its saliency in the world. So I think it's important to invest in lots of different markets, different types of jobs, keep everyone in your thoughts whenever you're making decisions. Who does this help? Who does this hinder? I think building relationships and diplomacy, if you're going to implement mindfulness, then that needs to be, if you're the president, that needs to be high up on your list of priorities. Is building your diplomacy skills. And
one of the things I thought about that so far I don't think I've seen as much of in terms of like major principles of this article, but delegating your powers. That's not something we always see, especially in the United States presidency historically. I mean, in the beginning it was more so, but delegating powers I think is really important nowadays, especially when you want to build up other people. I mean, if everyone just wants the job of the executive power just because they get all the power, then they're not going to be doing their job as well when they're a congressperson or whatever. So allowing others to have more power and trusting in them to make the decisions on everyone's behalf. So I guess also choosing the right people to work with as a president, that would be extremely important. Spending time with people you trust. Yeah. The third principle I read, by the way, was procedures or solutions that compromise the dignity, intrinsic worth of one's opponent imply domination, hierarchy, not relationship. So, here's an example of this. Like, it wasn't a president, but someone got elected, I think in Iceland, or it was someplace like that. And it was like a governor or someone, but he was actually running against the incumbent as a joke, and he just thought it was funny because nobody liked this guy, nobody wanted to win, but nobody was running against him. And, or maybe someone was, but this guy, everyone really loved him. He was a comedian, and he just made it into this joke. But he actually ended up winning, and he didn't expect to win. And he only served one term because like he did a really great job, but I think he didn't realize how difficult it was. But everyone really loved him, and he did a great job. And he talked, and I listened to an interview with him on NPR, and he talked about, he didn't say mindfulness, but one of the big things that bothered him was what other politicians would say against him, who had interest, who, it was in their best interest to put him down. And the way he reacted to that was very mindful. And he wasn't very reactionary. He thought about things that were good for his people, and he didn't engage in the political game, I guess. So leaving that side of politics out of the picture is really important.
So which models? And these are MBCT, ICT, or DBT?
I think you could use all of them. I think DBT, I like the idea of the emotional and the rational mind to make the wise mind. I think that's really important if you're in a position of high power. And also the amount of stress. I mean, I can see how someone in presidential office would want to commit suicide. That could happen. So it doesn't have to be for people who are dealing with that, but the idea of the wise mind and DBT is really important. I would implement NBSR all the time. I would use those tools all the time.
7 attitudes, right?
Yeah.
Minimize concentration.
Mm-hmm.
Enhance.
Yeah, I think beginner's mind is really important when you enter a room and not feeling like you have to know everything.
Thank you.
Okay, I forgot to email myself my article, so I can't remember. I chose the mayor because I applaud her for choosing president, and I think that's really, really hard. Because to me, the higher you go up in the level of authority, the more danger there is for corruption and just so many people coming at you, right? So just not just people, corporations. You got lobbyists, you got people who want your job, you have people who want you to see you fail at your job, you have people who want you to die. It just seems really, really difficult to tackle president. So I chose like the mayor. So I chose the mayor of my town because I thought, well, that seems a lot more manageable. So what would I do? And it's still, even when I broke down, okay, I went online and researched what's our mayor in charge of, what do they have to do? You know, they're in charge of a lot of stuff, even for a small town. I mean, we have fire department, police department, there's a school district, there's tons of schools. You know, you have parks. We don't have transportation, but we have, there's a jail. There's group homes for children. There's like nursing homes. There's public housing. And then there's all the small businesses and all the tax things that you have to oversee. And we have a city council and a mayor, but I think the mayor has a little more power than the city council. So then there's the politics of having Northwoods council members and having to agree with people. And I'm sure there's still like possibilities of getting bribed because there's some big companies in town. There's probably some big people and big money living there. There are some nice houses there, so I'm assuming that might be an issue. And I thought that the biggest danger to me of being in politics is being corruptible by money, or I think if I was going to be mayor, I'd be like, okay, I'm only doing this for one term. Like, not even think about your second term. Like, it's not even going to happen until like the very end. Some people are like, are you going to run? Are you going to run? Well, I'm not going to decide that until the day of the deadline. You know what I mean? Like, no, until the day of the deadline. That's the day I'll think about it. You know, the day you have to enter your paperwork or whatever. Because I think that people get so obsessed with re-election that they forget what their job actually is. Because there's, oh, well, if you're elected, you really should do this. And, oh, you have all these people advising you and lobbyists pushing money at you and companies saying, do this, do that. And, oh, well, if I don't make this company happy, then I won't get funding for my re-election, and then I won't have a job. I don't think that that's the point of being a mayor. So that part, I would just try not to ever plan to do it again. I'm going to do this once, you know. And then if you do it the second time, I'm only doing it this time, you know, because I feel like obsessing about the next time. How can you possibly be in the present moment doing your job? The other thing is, I think that's very simple. To get absorbed in all the day-to-day tasks you have to do. I'm sure that mayors have a lot of paperwork. So they're in their office a lot, they're on the phone a lot, they're probably in meetings a lot. They're probably always doing something like that, because it's sort of managerial. So there's probably tons of emails, tons of paperwork, and tons of meetings. But how do you get to know your constituents and what you're making decisions about if you're always just sitting in a room reading about it? So I feel like to be mindful about it, I would have to go out at least once a week, or like have one day or half a day twice a week or something, where you actually spend like 8 hours a week out in the community. You know, okay, well, this week I have to make a decision about funding for group homes. Well, instead of just reading the paperwork, I would want to go to all the group homes in my town and see all the conditions personally, right? Because how can you make a decision about it if you're not physically involved? That's all I could think of, really.
At the beginning of the year, I went to Atlanta, Jersey, and I forgot the name. The first day of the mayor office, the first day that the mayor took office, the first day.
Inauguration.
Inauguration. And he promised a lot of things to build the good community, to get more jobs for local people and so forth. When he got back within a couple of months, people complained about him. He raised tax, public tax, and hundreds of people demonstrate in front of his office. So that's one of the problems. So for the politicians, they overpromise, right? To get elected. And after that, they, like you say, they just follow with the big companies with his own interests. Not much good for the people again. Okay, let's
Yeah, I decided to look at the role of the vice president.
Okay.
So it's kind of funny, we all had a different one, I think. And it's just because I personally feel like that particular role might sometimes get overlooked among the public. In some ways, I mean, it just depends on the circumstances. But and two, I can just imagine if you're the vice president, there's a lot of pressure to support the president's decisions, even if it might contradict something that you might believe. And so what I read in the files, something by Peter Coyote. I don't know if that's really his last name. But he said political acts and solutions should afford all beings maximal opportunity to fulfill their evolutionary destinies, which I thought was kind of interesting because I think it sort of harkens to the fact that if you're in politics, I think it would be really important to remember why you got into that in the first place and not, like you were saying, get caught up in the what's the word, the scandals and all of the corruption, which is, I'm kind of a realist with politics, so I think that kind of goes hand in hand with it, to be honest. But at the very least, you in your role it would be important to remember your particular purpose. So for the vice president, I would think that being mindful would be certainly extremely helpful in helping support the president. And you can't really support someone else unless you understand yourself and what you're doing, why you're doing it, which is kind of what I think that quote said. And he also said, which I really like, if there is no self, there is no other. So I think it just goes back to stuff we talked about in the past about having like an innate sense of not necessarily judgment, but I hate to say right or wrong, but some sort of moral compass, I guess, if you will. And I think that would be important in politics. Moral compass.
She said it right when you said it.
Oh, really?
I didn't say it out loud.
Great minds think alike. But yeah, politics, it would be really difficult to be mindful, I think, because there's so many different directions pulling you all the time. Meditation, I think, would be important, like what we did this morning. Every morning before you got up, if you're a politician, I would probably do that and sort of clear your head of what you have to do, what's not going well, things like that. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with it.
Have you read the news about the controversial issues that President Obama he gave the executive order on the immigration law that allowed 5 million illegal people to stay back here?
Yeah.
You know that news, right? And I think the senator, right? The senator, they against us.
Boehner?
Huh?
Boehner. The head of the Speaker of the House.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, so you say when you're on the top, many people want to pull you down. So they want to destroy you. They want to make a mess, so that they can come up there. That's what this for. People fight for the position. Even they step on other people's body to go up to the high levels. They don't care. So that's why it's corrupt. That they use the power. They may not care much about improving of other people. They try to say something. If you get poison, whatever, you feel bad about yourself, right? If they criticize you, you do this and that and so forth. You don't have that confidence. That's why being a leader, being officers at high level, you have to have confidence. You know, to have confidence, you have mindfulness, have concentration, mindfulness. You know what you're doing. Otherwise, you would not lead people. You would not have the courage to execute order, right? You do not have the courage to designate your vice president or whoever below you to jobs. So it's so important. Okay, so we have three times. I'd like to show you this. Here's harassment, Team Ryan. You know him? It's in oil. He wrote the book. This one here. Amalgamation. And this is the conference in the Silicon Valley in California. So let's hear about this one.
Growing up, I spent about 12 years in Catholic school, Our Lady of Mount Carmel grade school, and John F. Kennedy Catholic High School. And I remember on numerous occasions being told by the nuns and the brothers and the teachers to pay attention. No one ever taught us how to pay attention. And one of the things that I really like about the practice of mindfulness and moving this into the field of education, teaching our teachers about mindfulness and social and emotional learning, teaching our students how to practice mindfulness, is you're actually giving them a technique and a skill set on how to mobilize their attention and place it on a problem that they're dealing with in their classroom, or to listen to their teachers. And mindfulness teaches these kids how to pay attention. It teaches them how they are connected to other people and how to be kind to other people and to see the problems that other people may be dealing with, and then understand that in a more compassionate way. Mindfulness can be a great opportunity for us as a country, for all of us to develop this skill in some way, improve our own performance. But there's some fundamental things that are essential to that. It's the ability to concentrate, to relax, to be aware, and to cultivate and develop these skills are going to improve your performance regardless of what you're trying to do. And mindfulness, in my estimation, doing a lot of work in Congress, traveling a lot, playing sports, all of these things, there's something fundamental underneath of all of those activities, and paying attention and being aware and having a reduced stress level helps in all of those situations. And I think this is going to have transformational effects on our education system. I don't care how much money we spend on education. It doesn't matter what programs we're trying to teach our kids. If they don't have the fundamental building block of learning, which is being able to control your attention span, all the rest is not going to be effective. And mindfulness teaches these kids how to pay attention. It teaches them how they are connected to other people and how to be kind to other people and to see the problems that other people may be dealing with, and then understand that in a more compassionate way. So mindfulness, I believe, already is having transformational effects in classrooms in Youngstown and Warren, Ohio, and all across the country, but we need to ramp it up. But this fundamental skill of paying attention is essential to us transforming our education system. Thank you.
I'd like to show you another bit at the conference here. Get 1 minute.
States Congress, which is what we're doing here. And I think it's important just to kind of share for just a couple of minutes, but I really do want this to be very interactive. I think my life, like most people's life, you have a series of growing up moments that you remember that point you in a different direction, experiences that you may have. And growing up in Northeast Ohio, half Irish, half Italian Catholic mother, Catholic church, Catholic school, Catholic grandparents. I remember a lot of those experiences of that community kind of pointing me in the direction of spirituality and something bigger. My grandparents praying the rosary all the time, rosaries hanging from their chairs, their beds. My mother, when we played football in high school, she would have more medals taped to our football pads than needed. But there was always this sense that there was something more, ask God for help, those kinds of things. And over time, I kept with them, prayed the rosary, had a real close priest friend of mine, which is Affairs, State Senate and Congress, and getting elected and living that kind of life. It's very active, a lot of traveling, a lot of people, a lot of constant push that I think I heard a lot about here today. I don't do the all-nighters like you guys do. It's just, can't handle that. But, you know, it came to the point, 3, 4, 5 years into my career as a member of Congress. We had a big election in 2006 where Ohio was a big state. We turned blue, and we were out on the campaign trail, and then that parlayed into the 2008 election. We were on bus tours all over the state, and it was in the summer of that year of the 2008 election that I just decided that, I'm going to be fried here in a few years if I don't learn how to balance this stuff. I would periodically do some yoga and periodically work out and run, but I got a bad neck and a deep bad foot, bad shoulder, like I had to find something that was.
I don't think I was helping.
No, it didn't work. So, I guess it would have been a lot worse if I went in there. But I had heard of John and read some of John's books, and he actually coming to our senses, and he sent to, I think you sent to every member of Congress. Published it. So at least one read it. Wasn't it? Well, we're in and so, I heard John look him up on the internet, I heard about UMass, and then he has this Power Mindfulness retreat for leaders.
Okay, so before this recall the number, then understand. You will not hear last time, right?
Right.
Just write down how many breaths you
Yes.
count each 5-minute interval.
Okay.
And then like start over again on this page.
Okay. Hit the bell, you know, right? Hit the bell. Next time.
And so that might just be her style, but I think it's also the philosophy of Yin. So I want to see about. I'll look into that. I haven't developed my thesis yet. I might talk about the connection between movement and mindfulness.
Yoga is originated in India.
Mm-hmm.
And initially, it's not the physical exercise, physical meditation.
It's not what?
It's not only the physical exercise, but it's also mind exercise.
Right.
You know that?
Yeah, that's why at the end of every class, you lay there and you reflect on how your body and mind feel. And at the end of every class in Yin, my instructor always says to remember that there's no such thing as separation, and we reflect on how much our mind impacts our body and vice versa. And also, one thing she has us do, if we want to, is set an intention for class. So I typically meditate during class, and it's something that I've done in other classes too. It's quite different in Yin because it's so much more relaxing and you're not engaging your muscles. It's much more about the impact of holding a stretch on your mind.
I didn't know how much I was supposed to bring, so I was like, I'll share.
You said
Fruit.
But I had in the house.
mindfully stuff in my face.
You got from the room.
Yeah. Yeah, very straight from Woodland. Made with love. The microwaves. So good.
Okay, this time, so let us do 15 minutes meditation before, so we do this for 5 minutes.
We're doing 15 minutes straight or 3 5 minutes?
5 by 5.
Okay.
Let's try 15. Too much to do, right? After that, we do 5 minutes of eating.
Okay. 5 minutes eating.
Oh,
It'll
try.
Okay.
Yes. Mindfulness in your workplace, probably. Something like that.
Use some cohesive demeanor to it. So you can use some of your example, some stories at work.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been doing stuff before.
You haven't moved much. What's that? Education.
Actually, no, but I'll be thinking about education when I'm researched the connection between mindfulness and yoga, because it's something I'd like to learn more about myself. And in all the classes that I've gone to for yin, my instructor talks a lot about mindfulness in her classes.
Which one?
My instructor?
Oh, not in the school? In
No.
yoga class?
Yeah, it's a yin yoga class, and it's very different from other types of yoga, and it's yeah, she reads a lot of books on mindfulness during the practice, and it's like really something that she brings up a lot